This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Located at their new first floor spot at 111 Main Street in downtown Ann Arbor, the Home of Medicine is now even easier to get to than their longtime walk-up location across the street. Find out what everyone's talking about and why a lot of Ohm's patients drive long distances to get their medicine there. With a no sales pressure atmosphere and an interior designed to make their patients feel at home and comfortable talking about their medical needs, the Home of Medicine just feels like the kind of place you should be getting your medical cannabis from. Swing over to homeofmedicine.org to learn more about what makes the Home of Medicine so special. And if you're lucky enough to live in or near the Ann Arbor area, make sure to stop in and tell the folks at the Home of Medicine that I said hello. One more time, that's homeofmedicine.org, which is spelled omofmedicine.org. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, September 6th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 565 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We lead off today's headlines with news out of New Jersey, where yesterday Governor Phil Murphy shared some of the details for how his state's medical marijuana program expansion is going. We picked up on this storyline last month when New Jersey state officials announced that they would be handing out 6 more vertically integrated cannabis business licenses, effectively doubling the number of sanctioned marijuana businesses in the state. Yesterday, Governor Murphy announced that 106 prospective companies in all have put in applications for those 6 spots, each paying a $20,000 application fee, $18,000 of which will be given back to the unlucky unselected. The application window closed at the end of August, and the winning 6 will be announced on November 1st. Chris Roberts over at Marijuana Moments has a big day today on the Daily with the first of his 2 stories diving into the issue of big tobacco starting to cast an acquiring eye on legal marijuana. Chris's story reports on comments made by Murray Garnick, an executive vice president and general counsel with Altria, parent company of tobacco firm Philip Morris, who said during a recent panel discussion that the tobacco giant was, quote, exploring our options, unquote, in regards to legal cannabis. In later comments, another executive, Altria vice president and chief financial officer Billy Gifford, reiterated that his company was studying the issue. Given that alcohol conglomerate Constellation Brands has now invested billions of dollars into Canadian marijuana company Canopy Growth, it's likely that the question of big tobacco buying its way into our industry is a matter of when, not if, at this point. A good story to read in full. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Our final top story today wraps us up in Mississippi, where a group is formed to push for the inclusion of a medical marijuana voter initiative on the 2020 ballot. Next week, the group Medical Marijuana 2020 says it will begin collecting signatures of support for a fairly progressive medical marijuana system marked by no dispensary caps and a qualifying condition list that includes chronic pain, opioid use disorder, PTSD, and cancer. There's still a lot to be worked out with this one, including the question of being able to gather enough signatures of support in the first place, but medical marijuana polls high everywhere, so its chances are good, even in conservative Mississippi. Best of luck to everyone involved with this one. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center of Ann Arbor, Michigan. The folks over at the Home of Medicine are longtime supporters of our work here at MJ Today Media, and we're super excited about all the big changes going on in the Michigan legal marijuana front. The Home of Medicine has been right there in the medical marijuana trenches for many, many years now and has managed to stick around and build a solid and growing base of patient customers because they focus on their patients and getting them the medicine that will make them feel best. That patient-centric philosophy translates into a buying experience for Home's patients that is long on individualized and attentive care and totally devoid of any kind of sales pressure. OHM's patients sit down with OHM's educated and knowledgeable staff in a one-on-one setting and have all the time they need to consider their options. OHM's one of the few medical dispensaries around to have a full-time doctor on staff, so Dr. Evan is always there to answer any particularly hard medical cannabis queries. Get a sense of what makes the OHM of Medicine special by opening up ohmofmedicine.org, which again is spelled omofmedicine.org. Big thanks to everyone at the OHM of Medicine for the support that makes today's news possible. All right, time for the Blitz. Alan Brockstein over at New Cannabis Ventures has a good guest article on Leafly that expresses some confidence in the booming Canadian cannabis stock market, which we hit on with our top headline yesterday. Alan compares this latest price run-up to some previous marijuana boom markets and finds that the fundamental reasons driving the current price of cannabis stocks up are a little bit more based in reality than those in the past. Add this one to your list of stories to read if you're at all involved in the legal marijuana stock market. With the second headline on the day, Marijuana Moments' Chris Roberts looks at the surprising support given by California's United Food and Commercial Workers Union for an effort to ban statewide legal cannabis delivery. The union has generally been pro-legalization since 2010, when it first officially backed a medical marijuana ballot measure. The California Bureau of Cannabis Control is trying to roll out legal delivery in all parts of California, overriding a bunch of local bans imposed by cities, towns, and municipalities, and has been opposed by a coalition of opponents, led by the California Police Chiefs Association and the League of California Cities. Chris's story lays out how the United Food and Commercial Workers Union has joined that group of prohibitionists and is now calling for the plans opening up statewide delivery service to be scuttled. Marijuana.com is a good final roundup of how various marijuana-related bills in California fared as that state's legislature wound down this year's legislative session at the end of August. In all, 17 bills are covered in the piece, ranging over issues like business licensing, underage use, academic research, and medical cannabis use by pets. Another one I'd open up and read, especially if you're in California. Yesterday, a bicameral conference committee met in Washington, D.C. to discuss the 2018 Farm Bill and the merging of the two versions that passed out of the U.S. House and Senate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell appointed himself to the committee to better the chances of a provision within the Farm Bill legalizing industrial hemp of passing. We've covered the storyline a number of times in the past, with McConnell suddenly waking up to the wonders of industrial hemp and moving swiftly over the past few months to change its laws. Michigan Live is an instructive story up that I'd read today if I were you about how the state of Michigan tests its legal marijuana. There's a great accompanying video on their story that shows some of the in-lab work that's done in the process of testing legal cannabis and cannabis products for unwanted chemicals and contamination. Just a quick bit of incidental disclosure on this one. Our very own Chris Crane was quoted in the story in his capacity as an industry expert. The Fresh Toast takes a nice comprehensive look at how things are evolving up in Canada for the public use of marijuana. Regular listeners know that Canada is on track to legalize adult use cannabis nationwide later next month, and that the federal government has left most of the details for how that will actually work up to its individual provinces. As a result, Canada is going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge of different rules and regulations for cannabis, including the public use thereof, when the veil of prohibition finally falls away on October 17th. I'd read this one even if you have nothing to do with our neighbors to the north, if only for the possible lessons it might have for us down here in the States. Finally for today, our buddy Tom Angel over at Forbes picked up on some new prospective legislation filed yesterday within the U.S. Senate that would allow military veterans to use medical marijuana. The bill, titled the Veterans Medical Marijuana Safe Harbor Act, would free up veterans to use medical marijuana in states where it's legal to do so, and VA doctors to talk about and even recommend medical cannabis in those same states. The legislation was filed by its co-sponsors, Democratic Senators Bill Nelson of Florida and Brian Schatz of Hawaii. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Om of Medicine, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.